Okay, well, thanks, Mike, and welcome everyone to our January, our first member meeting for 2025. Happy New Year to everyone. And this is a topic that I've been involved in the past, and it's really from a student's perspective, it made a difference in the students that I had. So anyway, this is the Virtual Cybersecurity Career Challenge. Uh, we have Andrew Stone from Suffolk County Community College, uh, Dr. Vincent Nessler from Cal State San Bernardino, and Dr. Dustin Bassett from Mount Hood Community College. They're going to tell you about this great program. It can be used as a capstone. Uh, it's unbelievable. And I went back and looked in LinkedIn for. I knew Vinny already, but I had to go look up Andrew and Dustin, and they have the experience that's going to help the students in this program as advisors. So I'll turn it over to you all. I don't know who wants to start. I guess Vinny, I'll turn it over to you, and you can kick it off.
Thank you. Am I using my slides or we have slides on here?
Uh,
I have slides, so I'm going to try and share. We'll
yeah.
see what
Okay.
happens.
Unshare there, Mike. Mike, you're going to have to unshare your screen.
I'm working on it. I know why you just told me to share, and I don't want to stop sharing.
Everybody, yeah, that's right. You don't hear people say stop sharing unless it's TMI.
Go ahead, try sharing, Benny.
All right, looks like it might be working. Hello. There we go. All right.
Yep, we see it.
All right, great. All right, so hello, folks. My name is Vincent Nessler. I'm a professor at Cal State San Bernardino. I'm also the director of the Center for Cyber and AI. I'm joined here with Andrew Stone and Dustin. Sorry, I don't remember your last name. Who will be doing the bulk of the actual instruction for this event. And you're in great hands. I'll let you know that. But let me tell you, I'm going to take a little time to talk to you about what the Cyber Career Challenge is, why we spend this effort to make this available to you and put you through this rigorous experience, what the value is and why we do it. You know, at least from my own personal experience in working with the students that I have, one of the problems that students would say is, and that the industry has said, is that by the time they finish 4 years of school, a lot of times when they go to work, they haven't had a lot of hands-on. They got a lot of good theory. They have a lot of knowledge. They know how to do some stuff, but they haven't really learned the tasks that are necessary to do to be able to hit the ground running in cyber. Lots of, I mean, I know everybody hates group work, but when you're working in the real world, you're rarely working alone, right? You're always working in groups, and knowing how to work in groups and adjusting to the task based on the skill set you all have and how do you attack problems and problem solving are actually the real meat and potatoes, so to speak, of what's needed for you to be a successful cybersecurity professional. So the cybersecurity challenge, the cyber career challenge is an experience that that tries to give you workforce experience before you enter the workforce. It puts you in role as a team that has to do what you would do in a reasonably in what you might expect is your first gig in cyber. So let's talk about it. So the cyber career challenge is different from most educational experiences. This is not what it's not is, a sit and get experience. It's not like, okay, today I'm going to show you how to set up Active Directory. Okay, today I'm going to show you how to set up a web server. You know, there'll be some discussion about it when it comes up. There might be some guidance, but this is more of, it's kind of like the Cyber Career Challenge is an obstacle course that we're helping you negotiate the obstacles to show that you can do the things you need to do. That's probably not the best analogy. It's kind of like a CCDC. If anybody knows what the CCDC is, it's a lot like that. So themes throughout this experience are going to be like to maximize your employability. So if there's one goal to this, I mean, there's many goals, is to get you as confident as possible in your capabilities, to figure out what are the things you don't know and realize you need to know if you want to be employable, to help you develop the attitudes that make you employable. So our role, that of Andrew and Dustin, are more like facilitators. We're more like your employer. And so keep that in mind. All right. So how does this work? When you, should you be selected for the Cyber Career Challenge, you'll wind up finding yourself in teams of either 4 or 5. And you'll be given a network that looks something like this. It'll be 3 segments. There'll be servers, workstations, Windows, Linux. There'll be a firewall. There'll be a couple of routers. And you as a team are going to need to build this network from soup to nuts, the whole shebang. Not any one of you is doing everything, but all of you have to do some things, right? And so you'll be given this network. You'll also then get a list of requirements, right? What do you have to do with this network? You'll create a fictitious business, whatever it is, just to give you some direction in how you're managing stuff. So for example, I had a set of students that decided their business was beans. So what did they do? They if you had beans, if you gave it to them, they would either cook them, refry them, or can them for you. But they also sold pinto beans, black beans, and Mexican jumping beans, something like that, right? So you'll create a business concept. You'll then look at all the things you have to do, create a project plan, lay it out, and we'll see what that looks like with a Gantt chart. You have to do account management. That's generally going to be your setting up Active Directory and user accounts. Web management, you're going to set up a website, a shopping cart, a ticketing system, and you need to be able to purchase and sell goods, not with real money, but it should be functional. You got to set up a database, email server. You need to do some scripting. The workstations have to be set up with, you know, the Office suite and be able to do their work, analytics, and so on. So it's a full, you're building an entire information system and securing it in support of a business concept. And really that's, you know, and there's all the areas within that you can each individually find yourself working in. I know this is really small, but this is visually just to get a sense of, this is the Gantt chart. So one of the important aspects of this is looking at all the things that you have to do, looking at the resources you have, which of you have, you know, what's expertise you have, which expertise do you need that none of you have, and figure out how do you organize and order what sequence of things you're going to do. Sometimes people are like, oh, I'm going to set up the web server with this particular version, and then it turns out, well, that's not compatible with this database, or that's not compatible with this version of the operating system. So you really have to get some time to give some thought to how you're going to plan it and what the sequence is. And so this is one of the things that you'll need to do. Everything is monitored and managed on the Kanban. So what the Kanban is, kind of a tracking system, and this is what they use in many IT shops anyway, or something like it. So a Kanban, if you look on the left here, it says backlog doing done. So backlog is just the stuff that needs to be done. So that original list of all the things that need to happen, some variation of that you'll list out. Then you'll have the second column, which is like, okay, Tommy's working on this, Sally's working on that, I'm working on, and you'll have post-it notes letting that state who's working on which item, right? So at any time you can look at it. And when things are done, they go into the done column. On the right is a retrospective, what worked well, what didn't work so well, and what were the actions you took. On the Kanban, you're updating that regularly. Anytime you do something, it has to go into the Kanban. That's because there's so many groups and you're all working at different paces and doing different things, it's not possible for Andrew or Dustin to be able to keep track of what each of you are doing and just magically knowing. This Kanban is a snapshot of what state your group is in at any given time. So when they go to look at the Kanban, as we had here, let me go back one. See, so when you look at the Kanban, you see the different rows. It's easy to tell what state you're in. Now, this is the Kanban at the end of a semester. So everything's in the done column pretty much. But I want you to notice all of the tickets, all the post-it notes are different colors. The colors represent each student. So this is also a way to tell if sometimes when you work in a group, you have one person that does nothing, and then somebody does everything, and then there's some people in between. This is one of the ways for us to be able to be able to tell if somebody's not pulling their weight in your team, right? But it's mostly to check how you're progressing and if you're making good progress throughout the course. Okay, so there's a Kanban, and then there is a auditing and compliance piece of this. We use what the CSET tool. Perhaps we'll have Stephen Miller in the past has given a great talk on how to use the tool. The tool has changed since then, since the time you did that. It's been updated, upgraded, has some cooler features, but there's a auditing compliance. If one of the key aspects of security is, how do you know you're secure as you think you are, right? Well, I'm secure. Well, what evidence do you have of that? Well, nobody hacked me. That doesn't mean you're secure. And so every cyber security shop, any IT system, has to show due diligence and has to have evidence that they've done what is expected to be done to secure a network. When you run through the CSET tool, you give it some basic information up front. It creates a long checklist of things you need to do, and you go through and say, yes, we have a password policy. Yes, it's complex passwords. Yes, the passwords have an age limit, and so on, right? So you go through all the policies, you check it off, and then this gives you a kind of a score of how compliant you are with the standard that is useful for your that applies to your system. And by the way, I'm talking fast and there's a lot coming out. This is all going to come out in the course. This is kind of just giving you an overview. So don't sweat it too much. After about week 8 or 9, there'll be a pen test. So after you've built your network, there will be 1 week where I have a team of red teamers. Some of them are people who are in my who are in a pen testing / ethical hacking class. Some of them will be graduates that are actually doing pen testing and hacking in the real world. But that team will be unleashed upon your network for a full week, or sometimes it's 3 days, depends. But about a week, just to see how well you've secured the network. And then there'll be presentations. Once the pen test is over, you'll all get a chance to do presentations on, what you did to your network to modify it, improve it, issues that came up and how you overcame them, how you did during the pen test if you were hacked, and any lessons learned that you would share. Now, at the presentations, we expect that we try to have some folks there from industry, and there'll be other professors. And at the presentations, don't be surprised if we have some folks there asking you questions like, well, why did you use WordPress? WordPress is famously insecure. Or did you use SSL, etc. Right? So that'll be the presentations. And then when the presentations are done, pretty much you're done. There might be some discussion about preparing for employment, job interviews, how to articulate what you've done, and you'll get a certificate. The certificate is not like most certificates. I don't have one here. So the certificate is kind of a full. It's a certificate size, 8.5 by 11, but it opens up, right? So on the front is a certificate suitable for framing. And when you open the certificate, on the inside will be the network that you built, along with the list of tasks that you completed. Now, we think this is a key item here, because a lot of times when people go through a training or a course or a boot camp, at the end, they get a certificate that says, yes, you attended, or yes, you completed, or yes, you got a score on a test that was multiple choice. That really ultimately doesn't tell the employer what you can do. This allows you to show this, and you'll have a PDF of it as well, that you can share with an employer and say, yeah, I was part of a team. We worked on the network. These are the specific things I did. They can look at it and say, oh, you tell me how you set up intrusion detection and how you were able to detect a hack. And then that's when they can engage you on a specific thing that you specifically can do. And then they can get a better sense of, okay, this person knows what they're doing. They know how to do it. I can talk to them on a professional level about how the network works, and hired. Right. All right. So that's the general essence of what the Cyber Career Challenge is about. That takes place over the course of about 10 weeks. There's lots more I could say about it, but I want to open it up to questions. Or let me I guess first let me say, Andrew, is there anything you want to chime in on that you think I might have missed that we need to share?
Really just that you were talking about the employer looking at what you did. I would say don't be surprised if you complete this and you say you did all of these things, and whoever is interviewing you doesn't believe you, and you have to actually prove to them, because they're gonna look at this and say this is too much for someone to do, and they're gonna be really impressed with it once you show that you actually did that stuff. So that's where the value comes in. And just like an attendance certificate saying you completed some training, that's not overly meaningful. Even a piece of paper saying you graduated with this degree, ultimately the value of any of this is showing that you can do things. and being able to do the things. And this is a chance to learn that process and learn how to figure out how to make things work. And, then you can take that to the next step.
I think that's true. Um, you know, well, let me open it up to, I'll make comments later, but let me open it up to questions. Any questions on the Cyber Career Challenge?
Yes, I'm curious, what is the name of the compliance tool we will be using?
CSET. If you do a search for CISA and CSET, you'll get to it. I'm sure Stephen can toss something in the text
Yeah,
chat.
I'll put it in the chat.
And if you go to YouTube and you do CSET CISA, you'll get right to the videos and it'll walk you through. It's not that complicated. Probably the most complicated part of the tool, if anything, is figuring out which standards and guidelines you're going to try to go to. Are you using NIST? Are you using CMMC or whatever it is? Like there are different categories, so you'd have to figure that out. But other than that, it's a very easy walkthrough. Gives you a list of what you need to do, and then you just check off. You check off, or you add a document. Okay, here's our policy, or here's a diagram, or whatever. You'll see. It's very good.
If you use you can use the diagram, and it will, and just a standard CSET default standard, and that way you don't have to. I mean, it'll
Right.
actually
Yeah. So
it'll assess your network basically.
yeah, there's one option is you give it the you draw the network out in the tool. So you basically do this, and then it looks at it and says, "Oh, okay, you have a router. Here are the things you have to have to secure a router. Oh, you have the Active Directory. Here are the things you have to do to secure Active Directory." So it gives you that. So yeah.
I posted it in the chat for the link, and I have updated. I'll work offline with you guys, but I do have an up to date, and I can do a presentation if you want to. But I've
Great.
been doing quite a few CSETs and actually added some AI information in there to make it look
Nice.
some new activities.
Other questions?
There's a question in the chat, Vinny.
I guess I have to bring the chat up.
Here, it says, do we have a rubric for the project? I do something similar in my cyber defense class where I created a rubric to help students understand the project. I also integrated a written component where they build security policies and incident response plans, including creating an incident response team. Is that part of this as well?
No rubric. The rubric is, I mean, it's up to if we're open to it, but let me explain why I haven't been able to crack the nut to do a rubric. When you all are separated and put into teams, let's say you have a team of 5, I don't know who's going to do what, right? You're all going to get together and you're going to decide, well, all right, I'll do web services. I don't know much about it, but I think I can set up the website. I'll do the Active Directory. I'll do the project management and try and get we'll get the Gantt chart and blah. I'll do the CSET tool. So each person is going to do a complete. So this certificate, just to be clear, I should have made this. The list of things that are on this certificate is all the things that one person did, right? This is not what the whole team did. This is what one person did in 10 weeks. These are all the different things they did. And so, that's just the nature of the beast, right? So you'll find yourself doing things that you hadn't done before. You'll do things that you can't articulate at the beginning that you're going to do because you didn't know you're going to do them, because week 6 you realize nobody's doing it. Somebody's got to do it. I'll do it. So it's much more, I guess, organic to the team. And also, let me just show you something else. When we look at the Kanban, so sorry, thank you, Siri. That's very nice. With the Kanban, you'll all be able to see not only will you have your own Kanban, you see each other's Kanban. So what you'll notice is some people are doing things significantly different. Somebody's doing Microsoft Exchange for email. Somebody else is doing HMail. This one's doing MySQL. This one's doing MariaDB. So also how you progress and how you do this will depend on the how the group comes to your decisions. And so the reason I bring this up is to say you'll learn from each other too. You might start doing Exchange and then talk to another group and say, man, Exchange sucks, man. What are you guys doing? We're using HMail. It was pretty easy. And then they'll say, okay, I think we should do HMail instead of Exchange, right? Or vice versa. So you can learn from each other as well. Unlike a CCDC, this is a very cooperative experience. So if one team is, we were having trouble getting Active Directory to work nice with Red Hat, for example. If one team cracks it at the next time that you're all meeting, you can have that team say, hey, here's what worked for us. You might want to try that. So yeah. So
one thing
yeah.
we brought in last year was we started using Discord so the teams could communicate with each other, ask questions between meetings, so they're not waiting for the following week. So this is the type of thing that should be, you're spending so much time on this each week. I don't know if we specifically got to that, but so much time each week, you can't really just wait and say, well, let's address this next week.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So let me hone in on that. What's the time commitment? I think we said 16 hours a week or something like that, Singletary. So on average,
Yeah, we said 160 hours.
For 160 hours over the whole time. So 16 hours. That's a lot of time, right? That's at least, that's almost half time, right? In terms of work. And so what it's not, and again, a lot of times I focus on what this is not because it's so different from what other classes or courses that you take are, that you think, oh yeah, you're applying, some people are applying what they expected in other classes to this. So for example, this is not, I'll show up for 1 hour a week, I'll listen, I'll take some notes, I'll think about it, meditate on it over the weekend, and then I come back to the next class, right? That's not what this is. This is you're going after, I got to get the network up. How come the router is not routing? How come I can ping the router, but I can't ping through the router? But you're literally building the network from scratch, and that takes time, and it depends on what your prior knowledge and experience is. So in terms of time, expect like 16 hours a week. 1, 2, you have to already commit to, I'm going to be ready, willing, and able to speak to my teammates throughout the week. That doesn't mean you have to speak to them every day, all day. No, but you have to be able to say, all right, we meet on this day with the group, and then my team will meet on Saturday for a couple of hours. Maybe we'll check in, we'll talk on Discord, right? You have to kind of be actively part of a team as if you were on a working, functional IT team. So just keep that in mind. The other thing is just to be clear, whenever we're doing this, we're always trying to figure out what are the correct prerequisites for this, right? Like, how do you know that you're ready for this? Here are the guidelines. We don't have hard and fast, but here are the guidelines. You should be close to the end of your academic experience, right? This would be like your last semester-ish of whatever program you're in. You should have had networking already. You should understand basic, operating systems, things like that, and basic cybersecurity. You should have those classes already under your belt. This is not a class for, hey, I just started my classes. I used to be a dental hygienist. Now I decided I want to do cybersecurity. I think I'm going to start here. This is not where you want to start, because this could wind up being where you end. You're like, this is too much. I'm out. So it should be there. Now, we've had students be successful that weren't at the end, but they were determined and committed to put in as much time as it took for them to learn the things they needed to learn, to do the things they needed to do. So there's a balance, and I don't know what the formula is between I'm going to make this happen no matter what, and how much expertise you have going into it to begin with. And then how the team works. We encourage you all. I'm not sure if we made it I think it's required now. You should have a coach. That could be a professor, that could be a staff member, it could be something, but you have somebody that's kind of your go-to person when you get stuck, that is, that's part of your team. Of course, you can always reach out to Andrew, Dustin, or I, but your team should have somebody that's cohesively keeping you together and kind of nudging you forward. Steven Miller actually led one team once and did his team was fantastic. And correct me if I'm wrong, most of what you did with them was just coaching. It wasn't like you said, okay, let me teach you how to do anything. It was like, oh, I don't know, we're stuck here, we can't figure that. And you talked them through it, and they're like, oh, and then they came up with a solution and moved forward, right?
Right.
That's invaluable, right? That's huge.
And I will point out, 2 of those were under the Cyber Skills to Work certificate program. So they were just going, and their background had been getting the A+, Network Plus, Security Plus, and then 2 that were, one of them was actually working on his bachelor's degree and his associate's degree in cyber. One in IT, one in cyber, and then the other one was strictly on cyber on the associate's degree. But anyway, it's a combination. But I would say it's the drive of those students. They couldn't figure something out. You talk about time; they would go out and figure it out. Go do their Googling and whatever till they figured out how to do this.
So I think I just wanted to make those points clear. Are there any other questions?
Yes. Are you assigning the teams, or do we have to reach out to anyone?
Generally speaking, what we're hoping for is that your teams are self-created by your school. Like, so how many people at your school apply? So if you have 5 people from your school apply, you will be a team, right? So that's what we're hoping for. That doesn't always work out. The benefit of that is you're all in the same time zone, right? You all have the potential to be able to meet each other in person if you wanted to work on stuff that's not required or necessary. And it's easier for you to have a professor or staff member that's going to work with you because they have a way of to know all of you. Now, we've had teams where it was different folks from different schools. They did okay, but there was a noticeable advantage to the teams that formed from a particular school. Yes, somebody has their hand up. I see.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Hello.
have a question. So I understand this is like a course for like at the end of your college career. And I wanted to know, is there a possibility for a student to possibly shadow maybe you at your cybersecurity work to see how this applies in the real world? Is that a possibility?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Shadow, what do you mean shadow?
Um, I'm assuming that you've had experience in the cybersecurity world, and so I'm asking, like, is there a possibility where we can shadow you, or maybe a coworker of yours to see this in real time, in real.
You mean if you want? I mean, if you were to shadow me now, you'd be sitting next to me, looking at me, talking at students. I'm a professor now, right?
Oh, okay, I see now. Never mind. Sorry, my apologies.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I did stuff in the military. I've done stuff with like I have background, but right now I'm a professor. I profess.
Noted. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. But
that's what this challenge is. If she would attend the challenge, she's going to get what it really is like.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think
Okay.
for what she's bringing up is something that I would actually say maybe Mike, and there's programs like this, shadow a cybersecurity person for a day. There might be there used to be like a bring your daughter to work or something like that, or there might be something that would be a nice program to set up, like find a day where you could do that. So
Like
okay, all right.
cyber.
So that's the kind of thing that NCyTE can make happen. If they get enough traction on that, that's something that they could probably put together, and it would be kind of cool. But okay. Is it possible to be an observer within a group for exposure? Like, so if you're like on the fence, you're like, you really don't want to commit to it because you're kind of shy about, like, I don't know if I can do this. I wouldn't have a problem with you sitting in to watch. But we'd have to coordinate the logistics on that. I mean, I don't think it'd be a problem. I'm in the middle
Okay,
of
well,
cyber education and would like to shadow shadow this competition to somebody said. So it seems like there's a few people that are like, I don't feel like I'm ready to pull
yeah.
the trigger and do this. I want to see what I'm getting myself into. Um,
Sounds like Nuella.
who?
Remember on our team we had one student. She was a military spouse. She really was not confident, so she ended up building her confidence, working in the team. She learned so much. She works for the NSA now.
Yeah. She was one of the shining examples of what you put in, you'll get out. Right. And I can tell you right now, I would say with 100% certainty. Let me do this. I can say right now with 100% certainty that none of you know everything on this network that you would need to know, including me. And I've been teaching this now for several years, right? But I know how to get the information. And also, you know, I'm both happy and sad when I say this. You're living in the day and age of AI, right? You can literally, and I haven't really gone through this with Andrew. We have I call it Coyote GPT. We have our own AI that we're using that's private and local that I recommend, but it's another discussion. But my point is, back when at least Andrew and I were like in college, if we had a problem with like the network, we had to go to a thing called a library. We had to find the book on the thing. We had to like read it and find the page that had the answer we needed to fix the thing that we had to fix. Then we had to go all the way back up the hill in the snow. Right now, you could just say, "Hey, ChatGPT, why? What does this error mean?" or whatever. Um, so, and I make a joke, but I think part of this experience. This is another talk, and I welcome you to come to any of my talks on AI. AI in the short term is not going to replace people, but people using AI will replace people that don't. That's my opinion, right? And I mean, it's demonstrably true. I can do stuff right now when I use AI because I know how to use it in a way that's better than somebody. Right now, I'm not a programmer, but I know how to use AI to create a program that will be a custom hack tool that will scan the network, look for vulnerabilities, give me a report, and it's custom, right? I would have paid somebody to do this, years ago, decent. Now I'm as good as that person. So,
Hey, Vinny, I was wondering,
yeah.
I would like,
Can we use a little bit of time for talking about the application itself? Because I know
No,
that
no, talking about applications, they would just let them all
I
do
know
it.
we need people to apply to this program and know when it starts and when the application
I'm
deadline is.
totally kidding. Okay.
I know.
Last question,
Mark,
and then we go to application.
oh, I just wanted to make the comment, when it comes to IT work, someone with uh middle school English comprehension with AI can do all of this work. AI can do everything for you. You just have to be able to understand what you're reading.
AI can do a lot of it, but there's some key elements that there's some key things you need to be able to do, like articulate, be able to work in a group, see a AI is kind of like a technical buddy that you can tell what you need or ask it and it'll give you answers, but it can't make decisions for you. And so
right.
the human element's still very, very important. And learning how to interact with AI to excel is also really, and it's one of the things that might come out in this. So all right, I'll turn it over to you, Mike, and I'll be quiet and I'll stand by for other questions if they come up after that.
Great, thanks. For some reason I'm having, okay.
Oh, do I have to stop sharing?
Yeah, let me get that, share that. And if you have comments on any of this stuff, then you let me know. Hopefully everybody can see that. So, the questions come up, can I shadow? What do I need to do? Really, we're looking for people who have like 1 year's worth of college experience, completed an intro to networking and cybersecurity class, and be able to dedicate 16 hours a week. I think that's been a real place that people get tripped up, is they think they can get by with few hours or less of a commitment in the beginning, and then it creeps up on them. And about the 6th or 7th week, we have teams drop out. So it's staying with this throughout the whole time, being consistent and having a good team. So if you can get your team together in the beginning and get started doing that Foreman, Storman, and Norman thing that all teams have to do, that's really helpful. But one of the other criteria is that we want you to attend an information session. This counts as an information session if you're a student. We also have 2 on the 22nd and the 23rd coming up next week. Those are on the events calendar for NCyTE. So if you need to grab the dates there, and I'll send all this information out in the email following this session. It's hard to do all this stuff in the same time. So February 3rd is when our application and our instructor endorsement is due. And so we're asking students to fill out the application and talk to that instructor, somebody in their college, or it could be an advisor, but somebody who can recommend what they can recommend them to the challenge. Because again, this is 16 hours a week, and we're hoping, like Benny says, we're encouraging students to gather students from the same college, maybe have 1 or 2 instructors from that college be supportive or endorsing them, and acting as a mentor to say, here's the roadblock that you're running into, and here's how you need to overcome that, whether it be with your team or researching something or trying to solve a problem. It starts, so again, application and endorsements are due February 3rd. And then the challenge begins on February 25th and 26th. There's 2 sections, so you're going to pick one, either the February 25th or the February 26th challenge. And when you go through the application, it's going to tell you that the times of day that those challenges meet. So I think that's Tuesday and Wednesday. And I should have put the times up here. I apologize. And once that starts, the first few weeks, you'll get some instruction, and then 4 to 8 weeks, blah, blah, blah. And then Vinny's already talked about the presentations. Let's see what else go. Oh, and that's all I had for the cyber challenge. I do want to say that there is information on NCyTE's website, and I will drop that link in our chat before we're done so that you can go out there, and it has the endorsement form, the application form, the times and the dates, and a lot more detailed information just about how it's structured and configured. Does anybody have any questions about that?
There's one in the chat, Mike, about how many times a year is the challenge run, and I think it's only once a year, right?
Yeah, great question. It's only run once a year. We have aspirations to do it more than once a year, but we've been limited with our the hours of the day and how many people we have running this thing. So, but we are expanding that, and I'm not making any promises, but that would be great to have more challenges. One question I have back for you folks is that if you're an instructor or at a college already, do you have a platform that could support something like this? Because one idea that we could look into, I'm not saying we can do this right now or any means, but I'd be interested to know is if we could, maybe use you as a train-the-trainer person and have you have students use your platform, and then we could build like a cohort of instructors that would provide the virtual cyber career challenge. Something to think about. If that's something that you might be interested in, you feel free to email me back or come off mic and talk about that. And then I'm going to get are there other questions out there, Stephen?
Let's see.
I do have one question, and that question is about the Coyote AI you mentioned earlier.
Right.
Is there a link to it?
So I'll put a link in the chat. So that's something I'm building that's in beta, right? So you're welcome to use it. Your mileage will vary. So don't it's not yet it's not in production, it's in development, but it's up most of the time. And I don't have enough time right now to kind of go through the details of all the stuff, but it's kind of like ChatGPT, but better in some ways, in what you can do. So just go to that link, sign up. I'll approve you later today, and then you can dink around with it.
Thank you.
Sure. So let me just say this as kind of as you all are thinking about this. I'm of two minds when I'm talking to you, and maybe that comes across in what I'm saying. On the one hand, there's a part of me that's saying, don't do this if you're not ready. Don't write a check that you can't cash. But the other part of me is like, do this. This will be the best experience that you've had. It'll be a tough experience. It'll be very challenging. And if you rise to the level of the challenge and you push through, as everyone who has gone through this has done, when they've pushed through and they've gotten, through this successfully, yes, it was frustrating at times. Yes, it was like we didn't know what we were doing. Yes, it looked futile sometimes. At the end of it, they were all better for it, and they were more confident. At the end of this, if you make it through, at the end of this, you have a confidence where you're like, at the beginning of this, I didn't know how to spell pfSense. I didn't know what Viata was. I had never used a Red Hat server before. And then after 10 weeks, I got this whole network up. We stood up to an attack for a whole week from a pen test group. I feel confident that even if I don't know something, give me a few weeks, I'll be as good as anybody else and get it up and running. And that's the kind of confidence you want to have when you go to a job interview, because you're never going to know everything that a company wants or a company needs when you go to a job interview. What you have to be able to convince them is, no matter what they throw at you, you're the person to figure it out, get it up and running, and have it hum along, right? That's what you want. And this goes a long way towards getting rid of the imposter syndrome, right? The poser syndrome. People think, oh, I feel like a poser. Like when you make it through the end of this, you're not a poser anymore, and the certificate shows it. Back to you, Mike.
Thanks, Vinny. I just dropped the link in for our survey into the chat. Please fill that out. I want to thank Vinny for giving the presentation, and Andrew and Dustin for being at our presentation today. This is the first time that we've used 3 instructors to oversee this. Vinny did it the first year by himself. I think the first 2 years by himself, and then Andrew helped him last year, and now we have Dustin on for this year. So it's going to be really valuable, and we're doing it 2 different days at 2 different times. So we've staggered that. So we've created some flexibility in there, and we have the East Coast and the West Coast represented instructors. So it's going to be valuable to have this additional support and have everybody working on the VCC. So please fill out the survey, because that is about our monthly meeting. Thank you all for attending today. And let us know what other topics that you would like us to bring to the monthly meeting. And again, I will send out an email with all these links following the meeting. And this recording will be up on the web next week. And Stephen, as always, thanks again for facilitating the meetings. He's really the brain in all of this. So appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. And I really tell you, this is the best experience you're going to have in an academic world.
Thank you. And you're in good hands with Andrew and Dustin. Andrew and I had a good time and made some adjustments. I think it'll be a good experience. So I hope if you're on the fence, you'll teeter over to commit and make it happen.
Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to email any of us about what's going on. So thank you again. Have a great weekend.
All right.
Bye, Zoe. Bye. I just got your message.